What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatch USA YouTube channel. Cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. Well, it is the first Friday of June. It's June 6th. And we're seeing what's up in the nighttime sky. But before we get started, if you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a like on a video. Let us know that we're doing a good job so we can keep doing this. So it's always fun doing this, hanging out with you guys every Friday. We definitely look forward to it. It is a lot of work doing this, but it's still fun to do it. And we get a lot of good feedback from everyone too. And we're actually really pleased that this provides a lot of good support for people. If you're just getting started, we try to cover all kinds of topics, so you're good to go. Real quick, this month is going to be slightly different, not too different. So today we're doing What's Up for the month, as we normally do every Friday, at the first Friday of the month. Next Friday, we're going to have Alex on again for Tech Talk with Alex. We do that quarterly. If you're not familiar with who Alex is our lead tech for tech support. If you call, or email in, you're probably talking with Alex. And we'll be on here answering all kinds of questions. Now, we had plans for the third Friday. I don't remember I think that's the 20th. We had plans for the 20th, but unfortunately, astronomy lost a huge person this week. Just recently, we lost Fred Espenak, Mr. Eclipse. We were really fortunate to have Fred on about a year and a half ago at this point, just before the 2024 eclipse. We got Fred to come on, and he was an absolute joy to talk to, a wealth of information on eclipses. And I know I couldn't have been successful with taking my first pictures of eclipses, the total eclipses in 2017 and 2024. I wouldn't have been able to do that without the expertise and all of the information that Fred put together for so many people. So we're going to do a special episode for Fred. We're going to re-air the episode that Fred was on. It will be pre-recorded because there's no reason to really have it live. But we wanted to do something special for Fred, and we're sad that he's gone, as well as many other people. And then the last Saturday, the last Friday of the month, the 27th, is going to be a pre-recorded episode because a bunch of us are out of town for the Grand Canyon Star Party, so we won't be here. But if you're going to be up there, you can come say hi. Jared, our marketing guy, and myself will be up there on the South Rim with a bunch of other people there. We're not officially going as Skywatcher, but we're going to be up there, so find us, say hi. But we are going to have our good friend Richard Wright on for the last Friday of June, and we're talking about the insides of reviews. Richard does a lot of reviews for Sky and Telescope, and he's done them for many others as well. He's also done a lot of beta testing, as well as I. And we're going to kind of go into the meat of it and talk about what it's like to review a product, what it's like to beta test a product. So we'll go into that. There's a lot of good information out in the world, and there's a lot of crappy information out in the world. And it seems to be becoming more and more obvious that there's a lot of reviews that are happening where people talk about something that they have never actually laid their hands on. And that's something we try very hard here at our webcast not to do. Anything I'm involved with here, I try to tell you from personal hands-on experience and not just some random thing that I give opinions on. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that. So it should be interesting. So that's this month. So 2 weeks of pre-records and 2 live. And then July we'll probably go back to our normal stuff. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started for today. Fair game. Ask any questions you want. We like having them, and this is a good episode for it because we generally have some room. But if you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Let us know if we're doing a good job. And if you have an idea for the What's Up Webcast, email us at info@skywatchusa.com and title it What's Up. Oh, there's a question. Is Skywatcher team planning to stay the whole week at Grand Canyon Star Party? Jared and I, as well as our whole crew, our friends that go to Grand Canyon, we'll be up there Tuesday throughout the rest of the week. So we're only missing the first 2 nights, I think. Saturday, Sunday. I'm sorry, 3 nights. First 3 nights, right? Anyway, we'll be up there Tuesday night through the rest of the week. So I'll have my 28-inch Dob up there. I think we're bringing some Helio stars. We'll be doing some solar. Usually we do solar outside of Yavapai Lodge if you're going to be up there. We don't really have a schedule of when we're going to be there because we're not really there for work. We're just there to be a part of it. But yeah, if you're going to be up there, that's where you could find us. Stop by, say hi. All right, let's get started here. If you want to support Skywatcher further, you can head over and stay involved by going to skywatchusa.com. Up at the top, you can hit subscribe and save and join our email list. Stays up to date with everything that you need to know when it comes to Skywatcher. If you want to do more, you can head over to skywatcher.threadless.com and pick up some shirts and cool swag, or you can go over to Skywatch USA and pick up some stuff. We've got all kinds of fun stuff up on our website, or you can buy from your favorite dealer as well. I am realizing I am missing one of my tabs that I need. There we go. Now we're good. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the big bright thing in the sky. That is the moon. So new moon is actually right in the middle of Grand Canyon Star Party, June 25th. Or if you're going to a dark sky, June 25th is going to be the darkest day of the week or the month. We do get some dark sky weekends. June 21st and 22nd is technically the darker of the two. But you could also get the following as well. I think that's the 27th and 28th or somewhere in there. The following weekend as well has a small crescent moon that's there as well that'll set early. Any tips on Grand Canyon Star Party? So Grand Canyon is not like any of the major not like Texas Star Party, not like Okie-Tex. It is an outreach star party. It is open to the public. So, and there are hundreds of people that come to this event. So if you are setting up your telescope, you are volunteering to be there and show people stuff. If you've never done Grand Canyon Star Party before and you want to set up, you need to go register as a volunteer ranger. That's all. Just Google Grand Canyon Star Party. They should have links up there. They did change it to a new digital format, which has been a little weird this year. It should be better going forward, but a lot of us have been having some issues with it. But you do need to register if you're going to be an astronomer there. But if you are one of these people who freaks out when you're in a dark sky site and you have white lights come up, this is not the star party for you. We try our best there to educate people about why dark sky preservation is important, why we're doing the star party, and you have to remember this is the public. They don't come for the star party. They just happen to be there at that time. So a lot of them have flashlights. A lot of them have their phones out. They're taking pictures because they've never seen telescopes like this before. You need to be cognizant that you are there for other people and not for your own viewing. Now, public viewing is generally between 8:30 or sunset to about 11. After 11, a lot of the public goes away. It's finally dark enough to really dig into the meat of the sky up there. After 11 o'clock, you can stay and observe till the sun comes up and no one will bother you. But please remember, if you are coming to Grand Canyon, it is a outreach star party. Although the skies are phenomenal up there. You're at a Bortle 2 sky at about 7,000 feet, so the transparency is amazing. And yeah, so just come as you are, but just please remember that it is a outreach star party. So, and if you are bringing a telescope, please register so you're a part of it. You will need, if you're setting up a telescope, you've never done this before, you will need a red light as well for your telescope. I like the OLED. Here's what I've been using on my telescopes lately. I just got another one of these OLED ball light. Hold on, I gotta find it. So that's not what I wanted. I have it stowed. Here we go. If you do a lot of outreach, this is my favorite light to use right now. This is the OLED, or OLight. I'm sorry, OLight Sphere Smart Night Light. And it comes with a little keychain that's magnetic. You can change all different colors and brightnesses. That is the best light, I think. If you need something, it just clips on the tripod or wherever you can put it. But head over, you can get that from their website or Amazon or whatever. They're $26 and it gives you the keychain as well. Those are really good lights, but you do need a red light on your telescope for safety reasons up at Grand Canyon. As far as weather goes, I've had it hot up there, I've had it cold up there, so I would prepare for both. You are in a paved parking lot, so you can lay down, but there are a lot of people. There's like 500 people that show up usually, and about 80 telescopes, and you are in a parking lot where it's dark. So I wouldn't recommend laying on the ground. And if you are going to lay on the ground, do it somewhere safe. Better bring some pop-up chairs and just find a spot. But if you're not setting up a telescope, make sure that you give space for those who are setting up telescopes, because we need all the room we can get with the amount of scopes that are out there. Let's see. I noticed on Stellarium that the full moon doesn't rise as high as other times in the year. Yes. We'll get to that in just a second. There we go. Full moon. So full moon is June 11th, which is next week. It's the strawberry moon, which gets its name from strawberries being ripe and ready for picking this time of year. But the full moon for June, the strawberry moon, is also the lowest full moon for a long time. It does not rise as high as other full moons. It's just the position of the moon and Earth at this point. But yeah, it will be the lowest full moon for many years at this point. So yeah, it's not going to be rising as high. We can go over to Stellarium. I mean, it's still high enough. So let's go to the 11th. But it is pretty low. So we're only 28 degrees up. That's pretty low. So at least here. But yeah, it'll be the lowest full moon for a while. So good bringing that up. Planets. We're done with planet season right now. We're gonna have to wait until the fall. Right now, the only real thing that's up, I mean, you do have Vesta hanging out up here, but right there as Vesta, that's in Virgo. You could try to hunt that down in a darker location. But Mars is, Mars is really the only thing that's up at the moment. We've got that hanging out up in Leo, and Mars is not really in a good spot to be observing at the moment. It's very small. It wasn't a good approach this year regardless, but it's gotten worse as the planets have moved apart. So Mars is pretty much it, and honestly, by, what is that, 11, it's gone. All the planets have moved up into the morning. So if you are into planets, you're going to have to wait till the early morning hours. Saturn makes its reappearance back around 2-ish. And then we'll get that back into the evening sky in the fall. So probably September-ish, August, September ballpark. When Pegasus is coming back up, we'll have Saturn coming back into the nighttime sky. And then Venus is hanging out in the early morning hours. Jupiter is way by the sun right now. Maybe not quite, but it's not great. So all the planets will be winter, late fall, winter is when we'll get back into planet season in the evening sky. So, but yeah, right now for evening, not much going on with planets. The sun. Now the sun has been throwing on a good show lately, especially if you're doing hydrogen alpha. Here's a shot through our Heliostar 76. So it does really good. That was a great day. The sun was really throwing up a nice set of detail right there, but it's been kind of quiet lately, although we did have some flares recently, and there was a big sunspot chain like a week or two ago. But as with anything sun related, please use safety as a safety as a requirement. You need to use specific solar filters, safe solar filters. Now, white light's going to show you the surface of the sun, show you some sunspots. If you want to see stuff like this in hydrogen alpha, you are going to need a solar hydrogen alpha solar filter. Don't use a nighttime H-alpha filter. It doesn't work. It's not safe. You need to use solar filters specifically made for observing the sun safely. You've got our Heliostar 76 is out there. You have all the Lunt stuff, Daystar, and then white light filters you can find all over the place as well. Just make sure you're doing it safely. And we have episodes if you want to know more about getting into that type of observing. Now, as far as white light goes, hydrogen alpha, I like using Gong to see what's going up during the day. But here's what's going on in the sun right now. We have a nice little prom here, some nice little filaments here and there, little active region, but not a tremendous amount of detail going on. But yeah, there's stuff there to see today, but not as active as it's been in the past. But we are at solar maximum, so it'll change all the time. But that's the great thing about the sun, is it's a very dynamic object. So there's always something to look at in some way, shape, or form. Meteor showers. There's no major meteor shower in June, but there is stuff in July. So we'll be talking about that. And, of course, August, we get to the biggest one of all of them. But nothing major in June. You can catch some here and there, but there's no designated major meteor shower. Is there a daytime viewing of the sun at Grand Canyon Star Party? Yeah, there are volunteers all over the park. Everyone does it when they can. Whatever works for them. So here. This can go away. We'll go to satellite mode. So where am I? Hold on just a sec. Get situated here. Oh. Okay. So here's Grand Canyon. Everything takes place at the major star party itself takes place at the Grand Canyon Visitor Center rear parking lot. Most of the telescopes are in this lower parking lot. Some are up here. I'm usually up in the upper parking lot. When my friends and I show up, we take up several parking spaces, so we're always up on the top parking lot. So that's where you'll find us here. This area down here, you can keep your telescope set up throughout the week if you want. It is roped off, so no one can get in there. But you do leave it up at your own risk. I've never heard of anybody having any kind of problem with that, so you should be okay. Up here, you have to break down every night. I break down every night just because that's where I set up. Solar viewing is all over the park. Everyone just kind of does it where they want. You will probably find some astronomers here at the visitor center in the middle. There's no schedule for this. It's just whoever feels like doing it. Some people are more scheduled than others, where they just want to go do it more often. My friends and I would probably do it 2 or 3 times during the week that we're there. But you could probably find some people at the visitor center. I like setting up at Yavapai Lodge. So here is the market and their big parking lot. This is the main store. We set up right here in front of Yavapai Lodge. We usually have like 3 or 4 setups out there. It's convenient. It's easy to load in there. So that's usually where you'll find myself and some friends of mine. And then a good friend of mine likes to set up at Yavapai over here, the Outlook. He'll have some solar telescopes, but he'll also have telescopes looking down into the canyon. And that's Dennis. Dennis likes to set up at Yavapai Point. So people are all over the place. So, are you bringing the TAC FC 100DZ? No, I sold that scope. I will not have the Takahashi 100 because I don't own a Takahashi 100 anymore. I will have my 28-inch Dob. I'll probably have some solar stuff, and that's it. Yeah, and maybe some small stuff, like a Takahashi 76. I bring that a lot as a backup in case the weather's not great. But yeah, I don't have the 100 anymore. What object do you enjoy the most when observing at Grand Canyon? Usually I start with M13 because it's bright and easy to find. The 28-inch destroys that thing. It's resolved all the way to the core. It's quite impressive. So normally I start off with M13. After that, I like to either go to the Veil Nebula, which is super impressive from up there. Usually I save the Veil Nebula for later in the night, after 11, because with the 28-inch, it's more like a half an hour to an hour-long tour where I take you around the entire thing, over the western, down to the eastern, and all the Pickering's Triangle in the middle, and all the little, pieces around there. So the Veil Nebula and dark nebulas in the core of the Milky Way are super impressive up there because transparency is really nice. Rarely do, and occasionally I'll go after just some dumb obscure thing, but it's more fun to get people together later in the night, around midnight, 1 if I'm still going. I have some of the astronomers will come up. They generally find the biggest telescopes, and they'll give you like, hey, can you find this? Hey, can we see this in this scope? And so, yeah, people keep me busy, but that's fun. I like the social aspect of it. And then we're hopefully going to be messing around with the Smart Eye on the 28. So that's going to be really kind of neat to see as well. So I'll have that later in the evening. Comets. So comets, very random, all over the place. You never know what you're going to get with them. As far as I know, there's nothing major in the world of comets right now. But if you want to know more, you can head over to cometchasing.skyhound.com. It gives you a breakdown of all the current comets. They do have a video every month now, which is very nice. That goes over each comet. But right now, I'm not aware of anything that's impressive at the moment. And this gives you all the details there. This is a cool website because it will give you good information on maybe what to expect that's coming up as well. So there are comets that you can keep an eye on. Now, last year, we had Comet C2023A3, this guy right here. We had this one last year, and it was not at its close approach yet. It did that in September, but we could see it up in Virgo, I think, at the time. And you could see the tail already. It was really kind of cool to see it. So, but right now, I don't know of any other comets that are going on right now. Am I bringing an HAC 125DX? I don't plan on it, but I might do a little imaging up there once I get that running. It might be fun to bring the little guy up there. So maybe I'll have an HAC 125 up there for after hours imaging. It might be a fun little thing to bring. Deep sky. So deep sky right now, we are still in spring with galaxies, but Milky Way season is coming. Technically, we're in Milky Way season now. But I didn't put that in here, but we're still doing a lot of galaxies and stuff like that at the moment. But we are rising into the summer constellations and nebulas and all kinds of fun stuff. Are you able to view Omega Centauri from Grand Canyon? Right now you are. I was up there last weekend doing a small event up there, and we were able to see it just above the visitor center. There's only a few weeks that you'll be able to catch it up there. And the best time to observe Omega Centauri from here in Arizona, I would say, is throughout the month of May, early June. It doesn't get very high. So actually right now is the time to do it. This past weekend was the first time I had ever seen it from up there, but it was really low. We're at 36 degrees north latitude from up there, and it barely clears the visitor center building. So we were able to see it in the 7-inch refractor, which was cool. But again, it was low, and it's in the worst part of the sky. So by the time Grand Canyon this year rolls around, third week of June, no, you won't be able to see it from up there unless you're in a really clear spot. But in the early evening. But right now would be the time to get it. So you might luck out, but probably not. All right, so deep sky, M106, this is Canis Venactices, 24 million light years away. Nice dark skies will help with this. I'm sure if you're coming to the canyon or dark skies, this would be a one to go after. Now, it is a cool object because you can actually go and image this with some hydrogen alpha narrowband. And you can actually get the red spiral arms that are here around the core. There's a big black hole in the center of there that's whipping up all kinds of detail and material. And they are red arms. So hydrogen alpha or more red will help pull that out. But yeah, you can give that a go and see how that works for you. But M106, nice object to go after right now. Not too difficult. And you could probably do that in a 6 or 8 inch telescope from darker skies. Larger telescopes will just help resolve more detail, more of the spiral arms, and all the little galaxies that actually sit around it. M51, the Whirlpool Galaxy, up in Canis Venactices, about 31 million light years away. This one's kind of tricky. This is really best for darker skies. It does get washed out, particularly the spiral arms get washed out easily. In light polluted skies, you can see the two cores of the galaxies. So you can see this part and this part. They're usually pretty faint. I know I can get that from my backyard, which is horrendous. I don't even know what the Bortle scale is. But getting out to some slightly darker skies will help. Really dark skies, it's fair game. Even a small refractor can detect it. But the larger the telescope, the better and more defined you get. But it is in a good position right now because it goes straight overhead, and it can be easy for us to actually see and get it. It's a good position for imaging as well. Like this image here, you'll see a lot of the H2 regions, these little pink, reddish regions. Those are star-forming regions. So those are good H-alpha targets as well. So if you're doing monochrome astrophotography and you have a hydrogen alpha filter, that's worth checking out and adding some detail in there. Now here's just a picture using the Smart Eye that we've been testing out. This is on a 5-inch refractor from a decently dark sky. I had the gain tuned up too high, so the background, and it's stretched here on the computer. I'm still getting used to it. It looks a lot cleaner in person. And more detail, but it's impressive with it. But we will have the Smart Eye up at Grand Canyon. I think there'll be 2 of them because Richard's coming, Richard Wright, who's helping with that development. Now, even on small things, This is I think this is the C-Star S50 that shot this. I was messing around with the EQ mode. This is from the backyard, but you can see even with a small telescope and some time, you can get some really good detail with it. But yeah, that's M51 right there. Fun one to go after. And it's just a great object to find right now, but it can be difficult from light polluted locations. Now, another one that's cool right now is NGC 4565. This is in Coma Berenices, about 39 million light years away. Really, this is better suited for dark skies visually. It's quite large as well. So people tend to be impressed when they finally get a hold of it because it's a lot bigger than you expect. But a nice 8-inch telescope will do a great job with this. Obviously, the bigger the aperture, the more resolution, the better the view is going to be. But if you have like a 10, 12-inch telescope, great object to go after for dark skies. And there's all kinds of little galaxies around that region as well. Imaging wise, very easy to do from home. It's pretty forgiving because it's a very tight, consolidated galaxy there. So it's easier to process that because you don't have to you can work with gradients from shooting in a light polluted location a lot easier when you don't have all this little delicate detail going off away from an object like a nebula. So this galaxy being really condensed, it's pretty forgiving to actually process that data even in a light polluted location. M82, this is up in Ursa Major along with its nearby companion M81, 12 million light years away. You can get this in almost any sky. But the two galaxies can be seen in small telescopes from an average backyard as little gray smudges, but it's better from light polluted locations, of course. You get some of the detail in M82. You can see the spiral arms in M81. But yeah, so that's a good one right there. Oh, is my sound low? Maybe it got knocked? Let's see. Okay, that's about as good as I can make it before it starts to break. So I've adjusted the sound as good as it can be before it becomes problematic. If you are shooting M82, this guy right here, it has this fantastic red structure that comes off of it. And this is best utilized with hydrogen alpha as well. There are a lot of galaxies out there that have some good structure where hydrogen alpha narrowband imaging can help bring a lot of that out. So don't be afraid to add some hydrogen alpha in when you're shooting galaxies at this point, but just depends on what you're going for. Tune this down a little bit so it doesn't get messy. Now next door to that is M81. You can see M82's back here. Again, 12 million light years away. It's a nice spiral galaxy. It looks just like a fuzzy disk for most, but when you get to darker locations and you probably have an 8, 10-inch or bigger telescope, you can really get those nice spiral arms in the galaxy. The best view I think I've ever seen was with my old 16-inch Dob from a very dark camp up in like northern Arizona, and it looked like a picture. It was phenomenal just how awesome it looked. But yeah, a nice sized scope on this from a dark sky. You can see the spiral arms, and it just looks awesome. I don't think I've spent a ton of time looking at this in the big Dob, which I should do more often. But yeah, this region also has a lot of integrated flux nebula, or IFN, which our buddy Swiftwater in the chat has mentioned too. This was taken from like a Bortle 1, Bortle 2 sky for hours. I need to go back and try it again because my processing has gotten a lot better since this too. But there's all kinds of stuff up there. All this really faint, delicate detail, the integrated flux nebula that's a part of that. It's like celestial cirrus is basically what it is. But those are two good galaxies. You get 2 for 1 basically. They will fit in the field of view of most telescopes. So if you're going after M81, you can also get M82 in the same area or same field of view. So it's a 2-for-1 deal that you get. So kind of a fun one to go after. Will a one-shot color camera capture M82 red structure? It should. More exposure time will help bring it out, but you can't isolate it as well and get it to be more pronounced as you could with a dedicated monochrome using hydrogen alpha filters. The H alpha filter really helps isolate it so you can pop more of it out and then you can deal with it in post-processing. But you will see it in a one-shot color camera, particularly from darker skies. And if you're careful with your processing and you put a good amount of time on it, you could probably get some really nice detail out of it as well. That's just the advantage to monochrome, is monochrome allows you to isolate certain wavelengths. So the way I usually do this, or the way I usually talk about this, and we've talked about it in our monochrome versus one-shot color episode, we'll have to go find that, is one-shot color is all about convenience, but you lose the control over the image. Monochrome is less convenient, but you have more control. That's how I like to break it down. So it's all about what compromise you're willing to work with. So on a one-shot color camera, you don't have to have all these extra filters. You can just go for it, and it gives you a nice color image. But because you're using a camera that has color pixels and the bare matrix is there, you don't have every pixel on the camera sensor working the same. So if you're shooting a red nebula, you don't get as much signal because you also have the blue and the green pixels are not activated as much as the red ones will, or whatever the color may be. So you get more convenience out of a one-shot color, but you lose that sensitivity and you lose the capability of isolating wavelengths. So you don't have as much control. On a monochrome, doesn't matter what color your sensor or what color the object is or what frequency you're shooting in, all the pixels activate the same amount because there's no little filters over it. There's no bare matrix there. So you get all the resolution of your camera all the time. Now you do lose convenience because in order to make color, you have to get color filters. So L, R, G, B. And then if you want to get fancy, you can put your standard narrowband filters, which is usually H alpha, S2, and O3. And there's some other specialty stuff out there too. That all adds to the expense. And filters get expensive very quickly, especially when you're talking big sensors like full frames. So with monochrome, you're getting a lot more control over your image because you're shooting each element individually. You also get more sensitivity, but it is way less convenient because you have to spend each time shooting all the filters, and then in processing, you have to work on bring all those elements together. So it's more inconvenient to shoot monochrome, but you get way more control over it. Where color, you don't have nearly as much control, but you're getting the convenience out of it. So just which way do you want to go? Another one that's coming up, it's a fan favorite. I remember finding this for the first time when I was getting started. This is M57, the Ring Nebula in Lyra. I have a really crappy image of this, so Ron Brecher always lets us borrow his images. This is 2,500 light years away up in Lyra. You can get this in almost any sky and any telescope, but oxygen 3 or UHC filters are going to be your friend on here. The O3s can be rather powerful, and they cut a lot of light out for smaller telescopes. But if you want something a little bit more friendly and more multi-role, the UHC or ultra high contrast filters are really helpful. Eventually, you're probably going to have both in your collection because they do go hand in hand. Certain objects a UHC is really nice with. Other objects an O3 is really quite pronounced. Like the Veil Nebula, the one I like to show a lot from dark skies. O3 gives you way more structure because it really isolates that wavelength much better than a UHC does. If you don't have an O3, a UHC will work just fine bringing out details of the Veil Nebula and other objects because it does pass the O3 line, but it passes a lot of other lines as well. O3 is way more selective. Why is nobody making dynamically changing Bear filter that can switch and be configured like a TFT display? No idea. I don't work on development of cameras, so not sure. Sounds cool. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if someday that becomes a reality, but I don't know why. That would be a question for like a camera manufacturer, or better yet, Sony, who makes a lot of these sensors. It would be cool to have someone from Sony on. Yeah, that would be kind of neat. So, but anyway, the Ring Nebula here, it's a planetary nebula up in Lyra. It's actually fairly easy to get. 4-inch telescope, you can easily do it. 6-inch really helps. But there's a lot that goes on in this field too, especially when we start talking about astrophotography, particularly the outer halo. The outer halo, you really need either a ton of exposure time, or you'll need hydrogen alpha to help bring out a lot of the detail in there because it's really heavy in the hydrogen for that halo. And planetary nebulas are rather tough because when you're shooting this faint stuff, you can easily blow out the central core of the nebula. So you kind of have to figure out what you want to go after, and your processing has to be very careful. Now, right next door to the Ring Nebula, larger telescopes you might need, but NGC 1296 is a little spiral galaxy that's right near the... It's actually behind it by like 250 million light years or something like that. But those are some objects that you can see as well. I'd say you can get NGC 1269 with probably an 8 to 10 inch telescope, but larger telescopes will really help define it more. Let's see. What monochrome filters would you use to photograph Rho Ophiuchus? LRGB. There's not really a lot of need in that area to do hydrogen, although you could and see what comes out because you never know what you're going to see. Here is my Rho Ophiuchus setup. Rho Ophiuchus is one of my favorite objects, and I've never gotten a picture that I'm really, really happy with. So I'm going to try this. This is a ZWO 6200 one-shot color. Because that's all you really need. And a old Canon 100 f2.8 macro lens. I don't even know if I'm going to need to guide because I'm shooting 60-second pictures and it's at like f3.2. I do have this stopped down. I made this little dew shield. So there's the camera lens right there. It's natively f2.8, but to get it sharper, I made this little aperture mask dew shield 3D printed guy. It just slides over the front there, and what that will do is allow me to get down to, I think, f3.2 is what it stops to, so it makes the stars at the edge a little bit cleaner and they're not as flared as much like they typically are in a fast camera lens. So it'll help clean up the edges by stopping it down. It's still fast, but yeah. And then you could stop down the iris of a camera lens, but if you want those nice round stars, you don't want diffraction spikes from the iris being tuned down, 3D printing or making a little round mask or like a aperture stop a little bit will help keep the stars sharp, but nice and round and not flared with the iris. So yeah, if you're going to shoot Rho Ophiuchus in monochrome, you could probably do RGB, but a really good luminance frame is a big plus. Luminance is like your background and your backbone of the whole image. So if I was doing monochrome, it would be LRGB. Our star travel refractors discontinued in the US. Yes, we did phase them out. We don't sell them anymore. We did look at selling the optical tubes on their own. Short tubes just don't sell. Like they sell, but they don't sell well enough. And apochromatic refractors are becoming more and more affordable. And so many people want to do astrophotography now that it makes more business sense for us to sell ED doublets and triplets, and whatever else designs we come up with, because not only are they good visually, but they're good for photography, and it allows you to build your into that moving forward. Where an achromat, you just don't use them like that. So I like the Star Travels. The 120, and if you can get your hands on a 150, they're really nice. But they're very colorful, lots of chromatic aberration. They're just deep sky stuff. So, and a lot of people just don't use them. Unfortunately, they just don't. What Skywatcher telescope would you recommend to a beginner that's budget-friendly, lightweight, and can be used for both images and observation? That's a good one. I would have said our EvoStar doublets would have been the way to go. They've been phased out. You can still get them. A lot of vendors still have them. Like an EvoStar 72 has been really popular. EvoStar 80 if you want more punch. Those would be good. Lightweight, I don't know what you consider lightweight, but those would be really good. William Optics makes some really nice little refractors. Astrotech makes some nice stuff. Stellar View makes some nice stuff. And a small apo refractor, probably between 70 and 90 millimeter in there somewhere, is what I would recommend for lightweight, for imaging and observing. You could get a C6 and eventually add Hyperstar to it, so that would be another thing. A Celestron Nexstar 6 or an Evolution 6 would be a good option as well, but I don't know what your budget would be. When people say budget friendly, that's a very personal thing, so it just depends on what you consider budget friendly. Some people say $500 is budget friendly. Some people say $2,000 is budget friendly. It really just comes down to you and your personal budget. What's your personal opinion on Chroma 3 nanometer narrowband versus Astronomic 6 narrowband, or would you prefer something like Antlia in the middle? Our filters that we use for testing, well, actually, I should say this. The filters that I have currently are Antlia 3 nanometer. Those are what we use in our test camera. They've worked really well. Do you need 3 nanometer? In a heavily light polluted location, 3 nanometer, particularly on the oxygen 3, is ideal. For S2 and H alpha, you don't need 3 nanometer even in town. A 6 nanometer would be perfectly fine. 5 nanometers I think are my favorite because they're the nice middle of the road. What I normally tell people is if you're really getting ready to invest some money on this, we have I don't know how you would state this. I would say our filters in our remote observatory are offset. Maybe that's not the correct term for that. And what I mean by offset is this. So when you're doing astrophotography with narrowband, you have 3 main filters: H alpha, O3, and sulfur 2, oxygen 3 and sulfur 2. And understanding how light pollution and wavelengths work on particular objects gives you a little bit more insight on how to better offset the filters. You do not need 3 nanometer filters for hydrogen and sulfur because more often than not, there's very little light pollution at that frequency of the spectrum. Way out in the red part of the spectrum, there just isn't a lot there. And moonlight can be cut out when you're around that 5 to 6 nanometer band pass for filters. So the way I would recommend doing, if you're going to spend a ton of money on this, you don't need 3s across the board. What I would recommend is you do a 5 on the H alpha, 5 or 6 nanometer H alpha, 3 nanometer O3. 3 nanometer on the O3 is critical because moonlight affects oxygen 3 because of where the wavelengths are, being more the blue-green region. So put as much money in your oxygen 3 as possible because it allows you to shoot more often with it, and then back up to 5 or 6 nanometer for the sulfur 2 because, again, it's in the red part of the spectrum and it's not affected as much. I am not a fan of sulfur 2 at all. There's very little of it up there. There's some cool nebulas that have it, and if you want to complete that Hubble palette, then you do need sulfur 2. What I normally tell people to do, and what I've done personally, is 5 nanometer hydrogen alpha, 3 nanometer O3, and you save money from not buying the S2. You dump all that money into the best quality O3 you can get. So that's what I would recommend. But 6, 7 is fine. If I had my way, it would be 5 nanometer hydrogen and sulfur, 3 nanometer O3. But if you're in a heavily light polluted location and you're not really getting out to dark skies at all and you want to get the maximum capability and contrast, then just do 3s across all 3. And that really depends on the speed of the telescope too. So let's see. Read the star travel question. An Esprit scope, they were in discount beginning of the year, and perhaps some shops still offer. If you can still find an Esprit, the Esprits are fantastic. They're overkill for visual, but they're super sharp. You could see what you could find floating around. Is Evolux still a thing? We don't hear much about them. No, we discontinued Evolux. We weren't happy with the performance of it. We found there was too much color on the lenses. That's just what we found. And they weren't doing well. Now I do believe there are other divisions that are selling them still, but here in North America, we have phased them out. What 3D printer do you have? I have this guy here. That's a Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon. And then I have what is it called? The AMS up here, which holds 4 different filaments. We'll have to do an episode on 3D printers and making stuff because it's a lot of fun. I like the Bamboo printers. They're super easy to use. I'm still new at 3D printing. These are great. There's a whole community online that if you can just search like, oh, I want this. And 9 times out of 10, you could probably find a design that's already existed. You just hit print and poof, it's done. But I wanted this one because it's enclosed. It has the filters, so you can use any type of the 3D printing filaments there. And it could do 4 different colors, which I find I really don't use much, but I like having the 4 loaded because you can easily switch colors. But it is fun to make stuff. I don't think I have anything right in front of me. Oh, I did have some keychains I made up a while ago, these guys, for my outreach stuff. And the one thing that I really like about having the Bamboo Labs with the AMS up here with the multiple filaments is that I can actually print multiple color things. So this is an NFC keychain. So I have an NFC tag inside that we've programmed as like a digital business card. And that's glow in the dark filament. And then on top we have our logo in black, and that's all printed as one piece. So that's actually nice to have. So let me buzz through this. M92, this is a cluster up in Hercules. It's really overshadowed by M13. M13's right next door, and it's bigger. But M92 is a good, slightly off the beaten path star cluster. It's a really good one for outreach right now. You can see it in almost any size telescope, but like an 8-inch does a nice job. Almost any sky. And imaging globular clusters are super forgiving as well. About 27,000 light years away from the Earth. And then, of course, we have M13 rounding it out. In Hercules, 22,000 light years away. You can see this in pretty much any sky. It looks like a little pile of sugar, or a dandelion is how I like to put it. But the larger the telescope, the better resolving power you have to get all the way to the core. So that would be kind of a cool one as well. Now, there is a little detail inside of M13 called the propeller. I find it's more noticeable visually and probably about a 10-inch or larger telescope. But there's a structure right here. There's like a little 3-banded structure. Overlay it a little bit. There you go. So it's right there. Let me go back and forth. That's called the propeller. It's just a cool little detail that you can see inside of M13. So like I said, probably about a 10-inch, 12-inch or larger telescope, you can really start to see the propeller there. So our May totem target was NGC 4449. We have shipped out all of March and April, so everyone should be caught up on totem targets. For patches, we're going to go finish and get May together, and we'll be shipping those out here soon. So thank you for all that, but we should be caught up at this point. And then, of course, June is ARP 286. So this will be a fun galaxy challenge to go after. So try to check those out. That's what's up for June. I hope you guys enjoyed it and had a good time. If you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave us a like on the page. If you have an idea for an episode, email us at info@skywatchusa.com and title it What's Up. Now, next week, we're hanging out with Alex. We're doing Tech Talk with Alex. So if you've got any tech questions, support stuff, this will be the episode for you. So come on out, check it out, and we'll be talking all things Skywatcher technical support. So should be a good time. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for today's episode. And I know there's some questions here, so let me switch over here really quick. In your webcast titled Choosing a Refractor for Visual, you mentioned some new upcoming telescopes that you were working on just for visual. Will any of those be ready this year, please? I don't know if they'll be ready this year. One comes to mind, but samples are on their way to us right now. Maybe towards the end of the year. But it's a new Dobsonian is one of them that's coming. So that's all I'll say about that. We have some refractors that we kind of showed at NEAF. They were hidden. I'm hoping to see those by the end of the year, but we'll see. I don't know for the visual stuff. Oh, there's a big one that I think you guys will think is really cool, and some of you even asked for something like this, but I don't know when it's going to be announced, but it's getting very close. But you can guarantee that when we're ready to go, you'll know about it. So yeah, there's one we're finishing up all the branding details of right now, and it's extension of a current line, and I will leave it at that. But it's the biggest one of these we've ever done. So I'll leave those puzzle pieces there for you guys. What is the green ring clamp you have on your lens ring that you pulled up earlier? Oh, these rings. So these rings, we've actually talked about this too. These are the new rings that are coming on the up and coming Esprit 70 EDX, which hasn't officially been announced here, but there's some details that are already floating around from other divisions. There's a new Esprit line coming called the EDX. It's basically new mechanics for these. That's why they're called the DX. So we blended them all together. So EDX. Anything in Skywatcher's lineup that says DX is a mechanical upgrade. So we have a new variation of Esprit coming out called the EDXs. That's why the Esprits have been phased out. They'll have better mechanics, improved dew shields. Focusers have been upgraded a little bit. New rotators on them. But there's a new version that's out called the Esprit 70 EDX. Those are the rings. Now, what's funny is those rings fit the larger ZWO camera bodies just by happenstance. So like a 2600 or a 6200, those rings actually fit. So we might need to sell those rings on their own if you wanted to actually mount your camera to like a dovetail. Oh, my camera disappeared. So we'll talk about that. But those are the rings of a Esprit 70 EDX that we had laying around, the prototype, which is in pieces now because the production ones are actually out. But we'll talk about the Esprit EDXs once we get them. They're not a super duper secret anymore, but we'll officially announce them hopefully by fall. Don't quote me on that. It all comes down. There's a lot of stuff going on, as you guys probably know. Is there going to be a replacement for the Esprit 150 ED Pro? Yes, there'll be the Esprit 150 EDX. I don't even have one in my hands to show you guys. How do macro lenses work for astrophotography? They work like any other lens for photography. A macro lens has the ability to just focus really, really close, but that doesn't mean you have to use it for macro photography only. A lot of these macro lenses are actually really nice prime lenses as well, unless they're like one of those super specific macros. But like a really popular one like that 100 f2.8, Canon, Nikon, Sony, Tamron, all these major companies make something around that, usually 100 to 150 f2.8 macro lens. It just means that focal length can focus very close, but it works just fine as a regular prime lens as well, and you can use it as a really wide field astrophotography lens. You think direct drive mounts will ever be a thing for the masses? I hope so. I hope we will see affordable direct drive mounts in the future. I think that will be the next thing after the whole strain wave thing. So, yeah. Is that the Lego Galaxy behind you on the floor? Yes, that is the Lego Galaxy. I have been really, really terrible about finding a place to hang it up. And it's been knocked over a couple times and had to be fixed. So I really need to get on that. But yeah, that is the Lego Galaxy. It takes forever to build, by the way. Took a few days to do it. Maybe if you were like motivated and sat down and did it, but you can do it in pieces, then it all interlocks together. But there's a ton of tiny pieces in there. So it takes quite a bit of time. If you were dedicated, you could probably knock it out in a day. But your fingers are going to hurt because there's a lot of tiny little pieces. So, all right, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. We filled up the hour easily. We'll be back next week live with Alex, and then the following 2 weeks will be pre-recorded. But we will see you guys there. So have a great weekend, clear skies, and we will talk to you next week. So have a good one, everyone. See ya. Bye.